I could feel my dad in the airplane with me. I've been training in the aircraft, and now I'm flying from the front seat, from his seat. And it's been a very moving experience. My dad passed away in 2015, but I have the feeling he's there flying with me. The aircraft behind me is a BT-13B built in 1944 by Vultee. It was used as a basic trainer during World War II. Relatively easy to fly, but a challenge from the primary and a good transition to go to the advanced trainer. The aircraft was delivered to the Army Air Corps in 1944. It was flown to Michigan, and a year later, with the war winding down, it was shipped back to the West Coast, where my father bought it in 1951 for $700. And he flew the airplane for 12 years. I took my first ride in this airplane at 5 weeks old and have many great memories of it throughout the 1950s before my dad sold it in 1962. Well, we were always told that it was scrapped in 1962. But in 2013, my brother John was Googling the old N number 54822, and it came to a link that said 13 Victor Victor. He forwarded it to me and says, "Jim, could this be Dad's airplane?" So I contacted him and I said, "I think you may own my dad's airplane." And he actually emailed me back and said, "You're right, and here's the whole civilian record of the ownership of the airplane, starting with your dad in 1951. And I told him, if there's ever a chance that I could buy that airplane, I would love to do it. It was my dad's favorite airplane, and it holds a very special place in my heart from my childhood. And so we ended up making a deal, and we had the airplane brought back here and restored.
Aero Trader restores World War II airplanes, sells parts, makes plexiglass, overhauls engines, and we've been in this business for about 40 years now. Jim Irwin, of course, came to us asking if we'd be interested in doing this airplane for him. We talked about it a little bit, and ultimately we had it disassembled and trucked out here to our shop because he wanted us to do the restoration on it, or whatever work it was going to take to get the thing safe to fly. It was about a 3-year project, and Jim had us on a budget, and of course the further we went, the more things we found wrong, and probably put more money into it than he had originally hoped, and we had even guesstimated in the beginning because there were just so many things that needed to be looked at, needed to be repaired.
Because this was going to fly, we wanted to look at all the flight controls, especially the fuel tanks. That was the biggest issue here because BT-13s are known for weeping fuel tanks. The cowling on the engine, it had some major rips and tears.
Control surfaces need to be recovered. A lot of the paint was chipping and needed to be redone. Basically all the components that you can unbolt off the airplane needed to come off and either be rebuilt, replaced, or at least looked at and inspected. Our goal was to make this a nice, safe flying airplane, not an original restoration. And that's why the markings on it aren't World War II stars and bars. It's the
Civil Air Patrol emblem that was on the airplane back in the 50s when my dad flew for the Civil Air Patrol.
The other thing that was missing on the plane was the
baggage compartment.
And this was made of plywood, aluminum frame, and canvas. So a lot of different materials going together. Probably the most challenging was replacing all the instrument lines, routing the instrument lines. We actually put in new instrument panels, and so working in the tight areas, you know, it can be frustrating sometimes, but you know, it's just part of the job.
When I saw the finished airplane, I was absolutely astounded. I think it looked better than it did when it rolled out of Vultee aircraft in 1944. It was just flawless, and we actually finished the restoration of the airplane very shortly before AirVenture 2018, and we were fortunate enough to get it done and have it flown by Mark Moody, one of Carl's pilots, back to AirVenture, where it was on the flight line all week, and that was quite a thrill.
Yes, I did fly the airplane to Oshkosh for AirVenture. The uniqueness of the airplane is just its heritage, they referred to it as the Vultee vibrator because it vibrates quite a bit. But it's fun to fly. It's very stable. It's got a big wide landing gear, and it handles crosswinds pretty good. It was just a fun experience the whole time.
It was a very, very important airplane in the World War II effort. And of the 10,000 that were built, there are not very many left flying. You know, and the number probably decreases every year, but we're very proud to have one that's still in the air.
Jim has turned out to be a really, really good customer, and it was a pleasure to be able to do this airplane for him. I mean, the fact that it had such emotional history for him, it was just a good feeling to be able to get this thing finished for him and have him have the opportunity to fly it again. That was great.
AeroTrader outdid themselves. I think my dad would be very, very pleased. Fortunately, we found the airplane while he was still alive, and he was extremely excited about old 54822 coming home to Southern California. It's been a remarkable 5 years since we found the airplane, and the whole Irwin family is really happy that we did so.